Item 4 on this committee outcomes meeting is the human trafficking update. Mark, are you going to speak to that? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, modern day slavery still remains a significant threat facing West Yorkshire Police, but I have to say I'm delighted with the progress that we've made both within West Yorkshire Police and with the partnerships as well going forward. It's really positive. From the work completed today, it's acknowledged that the pursuit of offenders and identifying and supporting victims, that we really need to develop and maintain and sustain those partnerships so that we can deliver the best service possible and be effective. And generally, people's perceptions of modern day slavery is most commonly thought to be associated with people brought from abroad into the UK. But the reality is there are a number of people born here who are at risk of modern day slavery, particularly through links with child sexual exploitation. So in terms of the analysis of the data over the last 12 months, we have made 72 referrals through the national referral mechanism. There are 72 victims that we've identified and take steps to protect. The vast majority of our victims, over 83%, are either at risk of sexual exploitation or forced labour. In terms of the data we have from the National Referral Mechanism, what's been highlighted is that West Yorkshire Police has a high percentage of referrals for sexual exploitation and forced labour. West Yorkshire Police, in both intelligence and referrals, have a high number of victims and suspects originating from Eastern Europe, with almost 50% coming from Hungary, Slovakia and Czechoslovakia. We remain as a force one of the highest contributors in terms of number of referrals to the National Referral Mechanism, which I think is, identifies, those positive steps that we're actually making. And anecdotally, information points to the UK being chosen by organised crime groups in terms of trafficking because of its accessibility in terms of society, where people can actually succeed, and the general guise used to get people into trafficked is through the promise of a better life, and that's one of the main deceptions used. Done some analysis around the factors which potentially make West Yorkshire a destination of choice for trafficking, and a number of areas, really the low cost of housing here, the availability of work, but also the good transport links we have, both within the UK through the motorways, but also the number of airports we have with Leeds, Bradford, Doncaster in South Yorkshire, but also with Manchester Airport, of course. Just along the M62, we've got the seaport of Hull as well, and you can actually, I understand, catch a megabus to Casige from Bradford as well. So there's a direct link there by road as well. So that makes it, very, very accessible. In terms of understanding the problem, back in 2014, before the team was established, there were very, very limited intelligence around this, but we recognise that in terms of vulnerability, we need to develop our intelligence networks and focus on that as a priority. And as a consequence, in the last 12 months, we've increased the number of intelligence submissions by 158%, which again helps us build a picture and enables us to identify victims who have been trafficked and identify those who are responsible for it, so we can pursue those as well as protecting the victims. In terms of partnership working with, you'll be aware that we've established the West Yorkshire Anti-Trafficking Network, which meets on a bi-monthly basis and is chaired independently, and also that through the network we're helping victims and promoting measures to combat offenders. Back in September 2015 there was an event at training school which I think you led. And in terms of, we're now linked into the threat reduction group within the Yorkshire and Humber region, which allows us to share information and gain information from our partners within the Yorkshire and Humber region as well, which again has a massive impact, particularly on the targeting organised crime groups as well. The team, the West Yorkshire Police human trafficking team was established in January last year. They conduct investigations into organised criminality. Developing a robust district partnerships is another objective, which is succeeding, and implementation and ongoing of modern day slavery database, which again helps us collate intelligence, which informs both us and partners, and helps us to identify victims. The team is also responsible for establishing working relationships with other forces in the Yorkshire Bund. What's also extremely important, the work that we've undertaken as a force has been recognised nationally around the work we do with victims, which has led to us being one of 2 areas chosen for the national victim pilots, which we're now progressing. That is really aimed at developing partnerships so that we can improve access to services for victims and potential victims of modern day slavery. In terms of the current investigations that the team are conducting, we have 13 in total, 7 relate to labour exploitation, 3 to sexual exploitation, and 3 further ones sexual exploitation through the commission of crime. I've mentioned already that a total of 72 victims, but we anticipate that will rise rapidly because there's been a change in legislation and the triggers in relation to how we refer. Previously, it was measured on those victims who were supported and seeking protection. Now, the emphasis is more on victims who are identified as potentially at risk. So we see that increasing both from within the police environment, but also partnership agencies as well, which gives us a great opportunity to actually access other services as well. Training of staff, we have trained over 7,400 staff through the human trafficking e-learning package. That's changed to a modern day slavery package now, and that is not been mandated nationally for training, but we are doing some work to develop our own i-learning package, which is through a different portal. It's far more engaging for the staff, and we're confident that in the spring, later on this year, that will be available, and show a commitment to continuing developing our staff. But the important thing about that is raising awareness, and there'll be an opportunity for partners as well to access that. So I talked about the increase in intelligence as well, but really the future considerations and constraints are clearly you were mindful that this was a significant issue facing the communities of West Yorkshire and granted funding to basically get the team up and running for 2 years. Keen to look at opportunities to actually mainstream that funding now, because it remains an ongoing threat, and the issues around being able to retain staff in that area are quite important to us as well. Yeah. So that cuts across a number of areas as well. In terms of the work we need to do, we need to continue to develop the partnerships, to develop those long-term and sustainable partnerships, and also the encouraging districts, and we're already doing a lot of work around this as a spot in each district now, to develop the district approach to dealing with modern day slavery around the 4 Ps principle. So in the appendix there is, it sets out the 4 Ps and the work that's ongoing, but really the focus is around continuing to develop the partnerships, raising awareness of the issues so we can identify victims, protect them, but also developing the intelligence around that so we can identify victims.
Okay, thanks for that report, Mark. And I think just to emphasise, I think West Yorkshire is absolutely seen as somewhere that is leading the way around this, and before Christmas I had an update from Warren Stevenson, the DCI, the unit, and the BBC, as you know, are undertaking some filming around the work in West Yorkshire to be filmed probably in March, I think, of this year. So that is good in terms of the proactivity of what we are doing. One thing that does appear to have changed a fair bit from perhaps what we were looking at 12 months ago, and I think it's through the increased intelligence that's coming through, and it's around the sexual exploitation aspect of trafficking, whereas perhaps 12 months ago we would have said it was more around the forced labour, where that still is obviously a significant issue. It is a real concern that we've got a big increase, it appears, in the sexual exploitation aspect of trafficking. And I guess the question is around the strategic assessments that are carried out, that this is absolutely something that is part and parcel of our strategic intelligence assessment moving forward.
Absolutely, yes. And human trafficking forms a dedicated part of the force tasking meeting around intelligence, and the patterns that are analysed and identified are then addressed.
You touched on the countries where it's mainly the Eastern European countries where the bulk of the victims appear to be coming from, and I accept that the pattern of trafficking within the UK from in and outside the region is something that will be need to be assessed even more. But what work are we doing with those countries where these victims appear to be appearing from?
There are already established protocols through Europol and international judicial cooperation arrangements that are shortly going to be changed to actually make it more accessible and more straightforward to actually make inquiries and in terms of repatriating victims where necessary.
So we are...
And of course the National Crime Agency is leading on this particular piece of work for us as well, collectively. So there's a lot of further discussions and further work to be undertaken, but I think the key for us is that we're very, very much engaged in the process, and quite well advanced in terms of our structures and so on. And as you're aware, you've already agreed that we could extend the team's funding for at least one further year whilst we work out how that mainstreaming process might take place.
Yeah, no, that's an important point around the ongoing funding of this. In the report as well, it does highlight the increasing risk to young children, young people within all this. So that absolutely fits in with the safeguarding approach, because certainly I've been questioned by other police and crime commissioners around why we are putting human trafficking as one of the key priorities, but I think from the information and intelligence that we've gathered, I would hope it's self-evident why we are putting it as a priority.
And I think this is sometimes where the language confuses us. We identify it as a strategic priority through our assessment because we don't feel as if we've got sufficient knowledge, experience, awareness, intelligence, and therefore potentially resource to be able to best manage it. And that's what the strategic assessment process tells us. It doesn't necessarily mean it's one of your strategic priorities as such, and sometimes the two do get a little bit confused.
One of the things you touched on around the training, so there was a proposal to make it a mandatory aspect of the training package, and that wasn't accepted. Who didn't accept that?
My understanding is that's the College of Policing. That's my understanding.
So the changes in the package were made nationally. The College of Policing develops, as you know, an awful lot of national training packages for us, some of which are mandatory and some of which aren't. The issue was then brought into local force, bearing in mind that we've already got to try and service all of the mandatory training packages as is, So we have come up with the best option that we can manage at the moment, which is making it available to our staff now, even though it's not been nationally mandated as yet. And I suspect the reason they haven't mandated it is because there's probably some further amendments to be made, and why not mandate it when it's a complete package rather than doing it in the interim?
My understanding is it's not mandated nationally, but the important thing is that we are still committed to developing our staff. We recognise that raising awareness will assist us in identifying victims, and we're actually looking at probably more up-to-date engaging portal through the island rather than e-learning to get the message across.
Yeah, well, personally, I think it's only a matter of time before it is mandated, because the government's National Anti-Trafficking, Anti-Slavery Commissioner, Kevin Highland, I'm sure will be making those arguments to the Home Secretary in the Home Office. And in fact, you might be aware that I'm planning to launch a national network on the 19th of January in London with other police and crime commissioners, and hopefully with the attendance of the Home Secretary at that meeting. And from what I can understand, we've got Toby and Stuart in the room. We have had good awareness and good interest from other police and crime commissioners.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if the College of Policing want to mandate the training package, that's absolutely fine. What they would then do is reallocate where in the training calendar other mandatory packages have to come. So at the moment, what we're basically doing is following a timeline set by the college. If the college wanted to make something different, then we'd be more than happy to go on.
Yeah, but I think it's credit to yourselves that we've actually trained so many people already, and certainly with our partners. So you made mention of the West Yorkshire Anti-Trafficking Network. Certainly the events that I've been to, they have been very well received, well attended. And one of the questions, I guess, is regarding embedding this approach into the local partnerships. How confident are you that each of the districts are taking up this mantle?
I'm very confident that each district is now committed to it, and it's not just through the West Yorkshire Anti-Trafficking Network, but also the work has been undertaken with the human trafficking forums. There's one forum in each district, it's multi-agency, and we use, there are a number of statutory partners within those groups. Both the West Yorkshire Trafficking Network and the forums allow us, amongst other things, to share information related to the national regional picture as well, and raise awareness around the patterns that we're forming. We have single points of contact individuals within the districts as well, linking with the Protective Services Crime and Human Trafficking team as well.
Great. Okay, thanks so much for that. I've not got any other questions unless there's anything else you want to raise or comment on.
No, I just think the amount of work that's been undertaken thus far, with the support from your own staff as well, is placing us very, very well nationally, and I think what we want to do is continue to maintain that position. So I've been really, really pleased with the work that's been undertaken, and I say thank you to Mark for coming along today.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, and yeah, absolutely echo those words. Thanks for the report, Mark.